things. Like, because then when I think about the women of Deep Blue Sea, they're terrible. You know, we hate Saffron Burrows. She's sort of this icy. There's nothing
Hmm.
redeeming about her. Jan, I've said this before. I do not care when she dies. So, you know, when we look at Deep Blue Sea 2, Misty is a little bit more of a complete character. She's great. And then like moving to Deep Blue Sea 3, I love the portrayal of women in Deep Blue Sea 3. I loved the ending of that movie. It's again pulls at my heartstrings, which is maybe what they're going for. I don't know.
Yeah, three of them
Um,
on the boat. Isn't that just a
oh,
great moment and
oh my
shot? Like
God, when they
you're
find
stuck
her
with
in the
us now.
cupboard. Yeah, if I had tears, I would have cried them. Yeah, I really I like where people are moving with women in movies where they don't necessarily need to fulfill this idea of the cool girl, which I think at the beginning of The Shallows, they're kind of joke like poking at Blake Lively being that cool girl, right? Like she's beautiful, she's California, she's an amazing surfer, but she's also smart, like she's so competent.
Hmm.
But they very quickly move away from her being that cool girl, in the sense of what that phrase means, and it's great. So
She's like,
more,
the situation isn't fetch.
yeah, that was that was a very hello fellow kids moment for you. But yeah, I'll
Steve
stop rambling
Buscemi.
on that. But yeah, I think it's really fun to sort of look at these movies. Yeah, I haven't, you know, a lot of them aren't, you know, and even when I think of the Meg, like the women in that movie are also very flat.
Hmm.
So there's something about this movie that has just so much life to it. It is a fun watch. It's a really scary watch. When you mentioned being really, really scared to watch this, I have not rewatched this movie a lot other than when I've been writing about it or for this podcast. And it's because I am truly scared to watch it. Like it is frightening in the first, sort, especially that second act. It is truly frightening to watch for me.
When
They
she
do.
falls on that shark, I'm like, no.
It
Oh man.
is that like the ending part for me, I'm a little more into it, but like when you are waiting around for her to get attacked, it is excruciating. And when she is just sitting on that rock timing things, and when she tries to swim out to the water to get that surfboard, I'm like, oh, Blake, what are you doing? Like it's so tense. But it's great. Like it just makes for such a wonderful, great, like it's a different type of tension than like I really didn't like the reef for a lot of reasons. And the tension to that is almost it's both too much and not enough. And I think it's maybe just the reality angle of this. But for here, they do give you some relief with the third act where it just becomes really cinematic. But yeah, I guess I can't say enough good things about this movie. I really enjoyed it.
I
This,
want to bring up the production designer as well, Hugh Batiup. I should have read that before, but this person they were the art director on Matrix Reloaded, The Matrix, Superman Returns, Speed Racer. Then they're also the production designer on Cloud Atlas and Jupiter Ascending before The Shallows. So this is you have an amazing costume designer, a director who can get tension from an airplane bathroom sitting on a train, but he also has like Vera Farmiga and like he knows how to get good actors in his movies to sit on trains and be suspenseful. But you have an art director, production designer that has worked on the biggest of the biggest movies, and then the costume designer who's done that, a director, a solid star who just worked wildly hard for this. So yeah, once again, this isn't a B movie, people. Listen to this. I'm repeating myself.
yeah.
And the production design is very limited. But that means, like you said, if it's every rock has to be thought out in this movie, all the placement has to be considered. And if there's one glaring flaw, that's an issue in it. But I love the reef that's near it. I I don't know, I dig it. I love the production design in this movie. I think they nailed it.
It is very much a plot-driven production design, which is nothing wrong with that at all. But it's like in terms of they had to work out how the rock and how the buoy and how the whale carcass would work for the plot. Like we need the boy to be knocked over and lying horizontal at some point, and the rock needs to submerge but have these kind of levels to it, and the coral, which they did all that perfectly. It all looked natural, it looked realistic, but still worked for the plot. So I had no problem with that.
And they were easy to like I still love how like some of it is so serious, and then when she's on the buoy and she's like spinning around and things, like it's still great and believable. Looks like a crazy workout. It's great. Like, I like that they were able to make those different dimensions with this movie. Also, Mark, I love how much like prestige you're giving to the Cloud Atlas and Jupiter Ascending, which were both like terrible movies.
No.
Hey, I like Cloud
If you
Atlas.
look at the production design, the hair and makeup, the wardrobe, I think that they are top. Like the Wachowskis are so storyboard and art driven that. And plus, I love those movies because they're huge swings. We don't see many movies like this in Hollywood. So I would take Speed Racer, Jupiter Ascending any day over other movies. But I'm talking about like costume design and production design. Yeah,
I'm always on that side too. I just think it's because those were like, panned movies because they're so bananas. But I agree with you. And this is a good example of that too, where it's like an original script, big swings, and it works, and like, we defend the movies we love. I'm always coming on here now apparently talking about loving Deep Blue Sea 2. Maybe not loving, but maybe we'll go
we
loving.
love it now.
Yeah,
we help sway us. Like,
you know what I mean? Like, but it's like he tried. And for this movie, it's like he tried really hard and he succeeded in, I would argue, everything that he did. Like, the humor that's there, like, impaled on the rod, but also when she, like, eats the crab and barfs it up, like...
eats it.
Yeah, like, oh god. The idea of crabs crawling over, oh my goodness, that, like, there's a lot of visceral tension to this movie that you feel, like, even if you can't, like, I can imagine eating that crab and that it just feels just so disgusting. And, like, I definitely don't know what it's like to pierce your own leg with your earring to try to suture it closed, but my god, if she didn't be really convincing when she did that. And her screams, like, for me, one of the best acting moments is when she's scrambling to get on the rock and she steps on that fire coral and screams. Oh my goodness, it's such a great scream. Like, she's...
Oh, and when the jellyfish gets her underwater.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That was the other part where I feel like I had to really be faithful to the movie when she's in the jellyfish. And I know that the jellyfish sting, but I have a hard time believing that if the shark is so wanting to get her that he wouldn't just fight through the pain. But
I feel like there's the size of the shark. She would get hit by so many of the jellyfish all over her.
Oh, that's a good point.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Whereas Nancy is taken out by one, I think.
Yeah, she gets shocked by one. Yeah. Which sounds awful.
I'd like to compare. We've talked about the survivors of Deep Blue Sea 2 having gone through nothing in the plight of Deep Blue Sea 2. Compare that to
That's so true.
compare that to what Nancy goes through here. Like, across the whole franchise, I think only maybe Preacher has a comparable turn of events.
He gets it, but that's right at the end, right? Like, right at the end, he gets grabbed.
But also, just the trauma of taking one out in his kitchen and being almost cooked alive in his oven, losing his bird. I was kind of hoping that Steven Seagal would get eaten as a nod to Deep Blue Sea, if I'm honest. Well, when she said, I can make that swim to the boy, I just need a head start, and then she puts the seagull on the little surfboard, I was thinking, oh, is this the head start? She's using the seagull as bait, and then she'll go the other direction.
That's so funny. I 100% thought that too. I was like, that is so cruel. But it doesn't fit with her character, but I 100% thought she was also doing that. But he makes it to the end, which is great. I would have been sad if he was dead. That would have made me sad.
I would have been fine with it. I live by the beach. I hate seagulls. They are rats with wings.
I mean, I don't love a seagull either, but a injured one that's accompanying you on a rock, I would like to see it through to the end.
Fair enough. Yeah, I wanted that nod to Deep Blue Sea, and I wanted in her the video she records for her dad. I just needed an omelette recipe. That's all. Just some kind of food legacy.
Oh my god, the Paula Abdul song was written for you. Oh my gosh, I can't. I must have just been like so emotionally invested in this movie. When she is doing her video testimony and she's like talking about all the medical stuff, and then she just like stops and she has that moment, like, I was on board. I was like with her on that emotional journey. I was like, I wasn't near to tears, which is surprising for me. I cried literally everything, but like, I loved it. And then when she changes tune and she says she's still going to be a fighter, I was like, yes, Blake Lively, like, you fight. Oh my god, that's embarrassing. But I can't believe you're.
No, you had the correct response to this film. I'm just thinking, why aren't they referencing Deep Blue Sea more? Come on, what are we talking about here?
You did the omelet recipe. Oh man,
Oh my
that would have
God.
been. I would have picked up everybody on the theater in the theater and just ran around with them. Like,
Or if it was like she picked up the tape and that was what was on it, we finally found the tape drifted to.
oh, that would be so beautiful.
Mark starts
Do
to
you
chant
think?
of 2 eggs, not 3, 2 eggs, not 3 in the cinema.
Do you think her character's name is Nancy after what Nancy Thompson from Nightmare on Elm Street, another
They
classic
mentioned Nancy
final
Grace
girl?
in the on the show, and she's talking to
Oh.
her little sister. She says that's how you get on Nancy Grace,
Oh yeah.
being alone on
I
a
will
beach.
say,
So
I have a bone to pick. It was the same within, what was that terrible? I'm gonna only talk about J-Lo, but there was a Jennifer Lopez movie, and it's similar to this. People who
Anaconda?
look like, no, it was like
no, she said it's terrible.
The
How
Boy
dare you,
Next
Mark.
Door. Yeah, Anaconda's great. The Boy Next Door, I think
Oh
that's what it was.
yes, the boy next door.
Where I'm just like, people who look like Jennifer Lopez and Blake Lively are not named Nancy or Claire. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? This is not her name. I hate the name of this character. That's the only knock against this movie. She should have been named something else.
Yeah, she does
But
feel about 30 years too young to be named Nancy.
I know.
Yeah.
And so,
I've never
Alright,
met
so
a
let's
Nancy.
rename her. What's the best name for Blake Lively in this movie?
I
Blake
don't-
Lively? Just call
Dr.
her Blake
Misty
Lively?
Calhoun?
Just
oh
call
my
her-
God. That's my favorite name in the history of the world.
Dr. Misty Calhoun.
And she becomes a doctor at the end of the film. So
Yeah. Whoa. She
Yeah.
does become a doctor.
yeah,
Yeah.
I should
Yeah,
do
the-
shark movies that feature doctors. Because,
it's all 3 Deep Blue Sea films.
All
yep,
3 Deep Blue Sea. Blue Demon, they're all doctors in that movie.
The
Because
Meg.
there's a lot of shark experimentation movies, and they all have to be doctors, right?
Is-
Sharktopus,
Is
they're all
Dreyfus
doctors.
Oh.
is Dreyfus a doctor in Jaws?
I would think
Ooh.
so.
He feels like he
Oh.
would be.
I think he would be like have a PhD. You know?
That's interesting.
I don't think Quint is.
No.
But I'd love it if he was.
He. I just
doctor.
recently rewatched Jaws. Shocking nobody.
Yeah.
And one of like I guess another comparison between this and that movie is like when Quint dies, it's all silent and it's so horrible, obviously, when he's dying. And like it sort of makes me feel like with this movie, like when the silence when she's being attacked and stuff, it's kind of like on this similar parallel. And I was like, I had never really realized the silence in Jaws before until I had kind of watched this movie. And I think it's because when you're watching Jaws, you're just like so in it and having the best time. And you kind of like forget all of the techniques that they're doing because it's just such a great movie. And The Shallow sort of made me appreciate that in Jaws quite a bit. The way that silence is used, it's just really, really stunning sort of direction. And as you said, like team production in general on this movie, it's so fun. And there's doctors everywhere, you know?
There's no
Yeah.
Misty Calhouns though. That's a kind of a
Ugh.
bummer.
She's so great.
I love Deep Blue Sea 2 now. Jay,
Do you?
saw I pulled a complete
He does.
180.
He really does.
Like
It's
I
great.
know it's
It's-
impossible. Like if I pulled a 360, I'd be back to where I was. But I pulled more than a 180 on Deep Blue Sea 2.
I
Jay
feel like-
Jay witnessed it for 11
I
weeks.
did, yeah. If you go back to some of the early episodes of Deep Blue Sea, when people bring up like, "Are you going to talk about the sequels?" and Mark would just get silent, and he would just get sad, and because I think there's record evidence of those films make you sad. And I went into that. I hadn't seen it 2 or 3 before we started the project, so I watched 2 just before we started covering it. It was crap. I hated it. It was a terrible film, but then it was really badly made in all directions. And then we dug down into it and we looked into it more and week by week. And at the end of it, I don't love it. I'm not at that stage yet. I don't think I ever will be. But I certainly appreciate it a lot more than I did. I enjoyed talking about it a great deal. And I don't like just talking bad things about films because I always think there's some good things to find in every film. But there are genuine moments I love in Deep Blue Sea 2.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to like get on board with The Shallows. Like to me, it's like it's an easy movie to love. It's a great movie. There's lots about it that are, especially if you're a shark movie fan and you've watched like 50,000 terrible shark movies for so long, and all of a sudden something like this pops out. And at this time, like 47 Meters Down and The Shallows kind of came out right around the same time, and it was like, holy moly, we're actually getting good shark movies again. And it was great. And I know some people don't like 47 Meters Down, but I love it, and I will make sure everyone does too.
Oh, I love it too.
Like,
I'm hoping to love it.
keep wanting to talk about it, but I don't want to wreck anything for
Don't
Jay
wreck it.
because
You can't wreck it.
yeah,
But like
it's yeah.
it's great. Deep Blue Sea 2, I agree with you, Jay. The first time I